The image of masculinity is always changing, but the qualities and traits that they are associated with stay the same. For example, according to dictionary.com, the traits that are associated with masculinity are strength, money, outspoken, decision maker, and provider. Over the years, well past decades, masculinity has been changing image-wise. So for example, in the 60s, it was a strong provider, nice, wholesome man. In the 70s, it was a pimp. In the 80s, it was like a workout stud / buff guy. In the 90s, it was a gangster or a college boy. You could be either or and still be looked at as masculine. But from the early 2000s to present, it's a trapper, hustler, or a drug dealer, basically. But even though the image of all these changed from provider, pimp, workout head, all of the society standards still remained. They all had to still have money, they all still had to be a provider, they had to appear strong, and they had to be the outspoken decision makers. In this class, we have watched two videos, one The Mac and Raisin in the Sun. In the video, The Mac, Pimp Goldie / ex-con is our main focus of masculinity. In Raisin in the Sun, Walter Lee is also one of our other masculinity examples. In my opinion, I do not think either of these are good examples of masculinity. Well, black masculinity, what masculinity should really mean. They do have the standards and they have the characteristics that society has labeled manly. Like, they both seemed strong, physically fit. They both wanted to be providers for their family. They both wanted to have money, everlasting money, which Goldie had and Walter Lee kind of came about having money. They were both outspoken and they both wanted to control everyone around them and make the decisions for everyone. I think that they are man children because Goldie, one, is always throwing a temper tantrum and always going around trying to impress his friends with the new things that he buys or has, like it's a new toy. He also goes around and disrespects black women, which is very childlike in my opinion. Even children, I feel like, don't. Walter Lee, he is very childlike because he walks around with an attitude if he doesn't get his way. He also goes and does things behind his family's back, like give them money but got it taken away. And he also sells out for money. Well, both of them do. To elaborate, Goldie sells out with money because he becomes a pimp, which is the business of disrespecting black women. That's not really his lifestyle. He's a car thief in reality. But he comes out and becomes a pimp and acts like he's this guy that he's really not, just all for money. Walter Lee is a sellout in my eyes because instead of still moving in and going with his mother and his late father's wishes to move into a house in a white neighborhood, he lets the white man run him out of the neighborhood and wants to use the money to open up a liquor store in his own neighborhood. Only something a child would do, and a man wouldn't understand the problems with that. In my opinion, masculinity is first off having pride about yourself, your race, and your struggle where you came from. Not caring about how society perceives you, so not caring about what your boys think, not caring about what other people think that you have and what that makes you. Being so headstrong and so focused that you don't have time to worry about what other people think. Not selling out for the dollar. So an example of this recently could be the American basketball team. Instead of standing up for the Black Lives Matter movement and boycotting the Olympics because they were an all-black Olympic team for the NBA, and sitting on their hundreds of millions of dollars that they make each season, they still went to Rio and still played and still won America, who is gunning down African Americans, a gold medal. When they could have just boycotted it and tried to see some type of change because they have sports have a huge impact on America. Instead of self-pity, they use double consciousness to get ahead. So instead of saying, it's not fair, they get to do this, I don't, I'm just might as well be this and that. They look at it, they know what it is, and they take it for what it is, and it makes them strive. They look at what they don't have and what they have to do to get what they don't have, and they do it. They don't complain, they just get things done. Another trait is respecting women, because obviously if you have common sense, you know that your mother is a woman, You know that you came from a woman. You know that everything you learned is from a woman. So I don't see why you would want to go around disrespecting them and acting like their value is of nothing, whereas if it was from women, there would be no you. And also a provider. I don't have a problem with the patriarchy that goes on in this country, as long as it's not making a woman be subordinate. If a woman chooses to be subordinate, that's great, but I feel as though there should always be a mutual respect. Two men that exemplify this definition of masculinity and these character traits are Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. I picked these two artists because they do not care about what people think. They don't care about the money. J. Cole does a $1 and a Dream tour for people who are less fortunate, and he still was the highest paid rapper of 2015. They also go around saying that it is going to be okay despite everything we go through, despite the unfair treatment and unfairness. We're going to overcome, and we're going to be all right. That is Kendrick Lamar's "We Gonna Be All Right" song, basically in a nutshell. Even though we've been down this road and they gun us down and they hate to see us prevail, we're going to be all right and we're going to do it anyway. God has us. That is a strong, powerful message that I feel as though only a man could send, because he's not afraid of looking weak or not rapping about the norm, which is drugs, Zans, robbery, guns, killings, aka homoeroticism and gender ambiguity, which Young Thug and Future exemplify. These two men are great examples because they are something that I would want my husband and son to be, and I feel as though they don't answer to anyone, but they still have a certain self-respect and pride for themselves. Masculinity is always changing, but the traits and qualities stay the same. If we implement new traits and qualities, could we change the world? Because the world is what changes the image of masculinity. Thank you very much.